Hey folks, little disclaimer before we start. If you don't know what a Warframe Dojo is, how the decorating menu works, or what constraint movement is, please watch Vash Cowaii beginner tutorials. I won't cover these topics, but I have put down the video links in the description below. I also want to mention that this is supposed to be a how to approach sculpting tutorial rather than a one-on-one building guide, as decorating and sculpting especially is a very varied topic and there's no golden rule how to build X, Y and Z.
Okay, let's go.
Decorating with Deivos! Decorating with Deivos!
Guten Tag, my name is Matt Deivos and I'm the decorator of Xbox clan Phoenix Retribution. In this video I want to explain how I approach building sculptures and give you some tips along the way. Because according to this study I fabricated myself, some people and especially Faith needs to do better. Before I start with the build, I try to envision where the sculpture is going to be in the chosen room and what the pose is going to look like. Presentation is key, so I don't want to hide the main attraction of the room behind the rune mask, pillars or any other BS. Including the skybox and room lighting into a build is a very useful helper when it comes to selling and improving the project. In an open space room, for example, the light is always falling towards the door, so if you want your sculpture to have shadows, build it facing the door. If you want it to be bright and show off all the details in full display, build it facing away from the door. To further help visualizing the build, I usually start with a pre-model. This helps with the correct scaling and gives me the opportunity to play with different poses. As Vash mentioned in his sculpting video, the posture helps to improve the quality of the build and makes it look a lot more dynamic and real. Framing the border of an open space room beforehand also helps properly scale your project. You don't want to oversize your object. So, once we figured out what the build is going to be, we can start building.
Good, Charlie! I got it!
So when I tackle a sculpture, I usually start with the head and shoulders and then proceed to the chest and attach the limbs at last. Every time I've started with the limbs or chest first, I overscaled the rest of the sculpture, so try to figure out which way works best for you. Now we come to the Brot and Butter of sculpting or decorating in general, which is crafting and merging items out of the existing items. Pretty much like building with Lego, but with Space Ninja stuff instead. The more details your project has, the better it will come off. I'm going to use the infested spinal bone as an example. When you look around in a lot of dojos, there's a very high chance you will find this item used as a dragon head and then the infested glow part as the tongue. Does it work? Yes. Does it look cheap? Also yes. So instead of doing this, the aim should be to actually craft, shape and form the sculpture from head to toe. Depending on your project, you can build the entire thing out of a handful of items, or you spam the entire deco catalog onto it. Either way works. I recommend paying attention to colors, textures and effects, especially when using a reference. Try to stick to a selection of colors instead of just slapping whatever fits shape-wise onto the project. For this reason I usually apply a polychrome very early. This helps including items that I wouldn't have used otherwise, because the color doesn't match to the build. And for some weird reason I prefer the brown polychromes the most.
Wir werden die anderen Dojos vernichten.
Size does matter. So the bigger your sculpture is, the more items will become available for your project due to decorating scaling. Keep in mind that the capacity costs will also go up by a lot. My sculptures reach from 600 to 1400 capacity and the biggest room cap is only 1600. So sometimes I was forced to heavily simplify or completely remove the room mask. While proceeding through your build, try to pay attention to body shapes. For example, when building a dragon, don't make the spine flat. When building a statue, don't skip leg day. When building a body, don't make it a tube. When building a hand, keep in mind that the thumb is moving in a completely different direction and so forth. If you're struggling with visualizing the build just like I with the English language, use references. Those references don't necessarily have to be the exact same thing you're building. If you're close to the thing, that's alright. Warframe decorating isn't an exact art of copying and pasting from a reference. There will be compromises you have to make, may it be color, textures, or shape. Does my Bahamut look exactly like a Bahamut from Final Fantasy? No. Do people recognize the reference? Yes. Does Faith need to do better? Also yes.
I'm just trying to fit in.
Get out! Get out of this house! I said no!
And with that said, I hope you find this video helpful. Feel free to contact us on Discord or Xbox. Auf Wiedersehen!